Hi everyone, welcome to Entrepreneur Behind the Bar. On today's episode, we have Annie. She's a marketer, a StoryBrand certified, and a MailChimp certified. Hi Annie.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here.
We're glad also. Can you please first tell us about yourself?
Sure. So I am a marketer, like you said. I specifically love the performing arts and artists. And so initially I started marketing to that niche, to specifically people who are in the arts. But then I realized that I love having the idea of making whatever product or service that you're launching as exciting as the opening night of a show. I find that idea sort of intoxicating. So I have recently started working with people outside of the performing arts with their marketing, but I still love the arts. I still specifically love theater, and I love coffee, as you could see right here. That's sort of like how I think of my days. I love having coffee in my days. I have 2 kids. I live here not too far. I live about 20 miles west of New York City.
Okay.
And so I'm oftentimes going to see, it's the theater capital of America for sure. And next to London is probably one of the theater capitals of the world. So I'm really lucky to be here and be around a lot of creative people, because that and coffee really sort of fuels my day to day.
I understand. So many of the people who watch this, they actually sell physical product. How can someone who sells physical product can take your methods about art, performing art, and use them for a product?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing to really think about is, if you are selling a product, that it's important to think about how a producer has to fill a theater. And there's a real urgency there. So when the show is set to open, or while the show is running, that producer has to sell a certain amount of seats. There's a real urgency there. There's a real fire that you're saddled with in order to get those people in the seats. And when you start thinking about selling a specific amount of products that way and setting your goals up that way, much like how, I've got to sell seats in this theater, I want to sell this many of the products. And if I don't, what is at stake? Because in the performing arts, what's at stake is, of course, you lose money on every seat that's not sold. But then the feeling for the actors is really awful when they look out into the seats and they see so many empty seats. The feeling for the audience is bad, because the morale is really low, because they look around and they see so many empty seats and the comedy just doesn't ring true as much. So in so many different areas of the process, morale is then lowered and the experience is deteriorated because of that. And when you think about it in terms of products that you sell, it's very, very similar. If you don't sell as many products, there's not as many reviews on your site. There's not a lot of social media posts about it. There's not a lot of chatter about it. The people that you're working with may feel like, oh, this product is kind of a dud. There's not a whole lot going on here. Morale is going to be really low that way. So when you have that urgency behind you of, we need to fill seats, that helps to propel your actions more so than, oh, we have these sales goals.
So I'm going to look at myself. If I'm the seller, I'm going to look at myself as the producer, right?
Yes.
So I just want this to be straight before we keep going. So this part, it's clear for everyone. The producer have to sell ticket, and if I'm a seller of a product, I have to sell product, right? So far it's clear. But let's try to use it from the branding point of view. I would love to hear your insight about what a producer have to do to fill these seats, so to sell enough tickets. So what can a seller do to sell enough product?
Right. So branding is really important. And I think with the branding, it's how you talk about your product. Because in the theater world, when people are looking at a, and again, I said I'm in New York City, right? So it's early March in New York City. Early March in this time there could be snow at any moment. There could be a crazy wind storm. Like there's a lot of the elements that can happen. It needs to be abundantly clear why someone would want to venture out of their home into the elements, get a parking spot, deal with the train, deal with all the COVID protocols that are in effect, all of that. It has to be abundantly clear why this piece is worth jumping through all of those hoops to go see. What is it going to really do for me as an audience member? How am I going to be changed? And so that's really important with what you put in your marketing. Because so often I will see products. I just got this product the other day. My husband, it's right here. My husband gave this to me. It is it's a notebook. Obviously it looks like a notebook. You could see it's a notebook, but Rocketbook is the name of the company. And so they are talking about the features of this notebook. So this notebook, you can see it's got a QR code on it. You could scan it, and then it can go to your Evernote or your Google Drive or blah, blah, blah. And so you can have your handwritten notes there. And then also this, you can just, wipe clean all this stuff. But that's all great. Those are all great features. And this company is doing a great job of sharing with me what the features are. I don't make any money from them. But what I didn't know when I first got this, I wasn't expecting it. It wasn't like on a list, like, on a birthday list or a wish list that I had. My husband just said, "Oh, I thought you might like this," but I don't know what problem it is solving for me. So I feel like, yeah, this is really cool. I mean, this is nice. I like that I can wipe it clean, so I'm saving paper, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not really sure what problems it's solving in my life. And so again, with that, you've got to be really, really clear on why someone would want to buy this product, because it's got to solve something. It's got to do something for them that you're making abundantly clear. The same way that with theater branding, you have to make it abundantly clear why someone would jump through all of those hoops to get into that seat for that show that night. So I think that comes up a lot in as far as the marketing, just to get people, and really the sales, just to get people in that seat. And then what really kicks it up to another level, when people start loving your product and your brand and your company, is when you start giving them a full experience. From the moment so in the theater world, from the moment they walk into the theater, it's exciting. You get handed a playbill. So you have this tangible thing that's a reminder of the event that you just went to. You are surrounded by, beautiful theaters, that there's an excitement there. People here in the US, it is common for people to, when they're sitting in their seat before the show starts, take a picture of their playbill and then post that on social media. And they're looking at the set, they can see the set. All of this is really exciting. And it's an overall experience. It's not just the show, it's from the minute you walk into the theater. What is the experience like for the audience member? And when you're selling a product, the minute that the person gets that product, or even gets that email confirmation about their product, what is it that's going to make that person start to love the whole experience of your product? Because we all have it's very easy to set up, so like you said, I'm MailChimp certified. It is very easy to set up a automatic email that goes out when someone buys a product, and it's like sort of their confirmation email with their tracking and blah, 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 blah. But is there a way that you can add a little theatricality into that you can add a little showmanship to make that person like watching their front doorstep for when that package arrives, because they are so excited?
Now, I think the issue many people have, and maybe you can help with this, is Yeah, some people sell very exciting products. So it's a little bit easier to add like experience, right? Or
Sure.
products that are gonna solve big problem. Even medicine, it's very easy to say what problem this medicine gonna solve, right?
Yeah.
So you have a headache, you're gonna take a pill, you're not going to feel any headache. I think the problem people having is with the most simple product. Okay, let's actually, this is a good example. This is a very simple cup, okay? A very simple glass, just a water glass. If someone who sells this kind of product, what can he do to give this big experience? Or do you
Right.
get it?
Yes. So I think that I think then what you want to tap into is if you're not, I'll take it back to the metaphor we're talking about here. So in the theater world, right, you have big boffo musicals,
Right.
with big costumes and big sets, but then you can also have a very simple play, right? So how do you get people excited about that play? And the same way, like, how do you get someone excited about a very simple product? Well, then what you want to look at is take a wider view. So is it that the glass is part of a line of glassware that is sustainably created? So then can we tap into that so that way people feel excited that they're part of the solution? Is it that the practices that your company uses, that, I don't know, every time one person buys a glass, that you donate another glass to someone who's thirsty, whatever it is. So then you can tap into that. You can tap into the mission of your company, and how when you are supporting this company, then you are helping to support that mission. Maybe it's that you're just tapping into some other element of what makes this, just the simple pleasures, right? You ordered something, it's going to come to you. It's going to come to you all in time with no drama. We're going to make this process simple and streamlined for you because your life is busy enough, right? So it's finding some angle. And so if it's not the product that is, so if the product is not a big time musical with Hugh Jackman in it and a 30-piece orchestra, then what is it that is going to connect you what is it that's going to connect you to your buyers? And that's where it's so important to think about the urgency of selling so many products in the first place, so you can start to understand, how is your buyer using it? What is their experience like? How can you make that experience even better for them? How can you make it better for them as a current buyer? How can, that just all of that kind of stuff, how can you tap into that together?
So you don't have to sell exciting product, but you still can provide like exciting experience.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So I'd like to go a little bit for your personal life. I know you have kids, but I'd like to hear how you got into marketing.
Sure. So yeah, I have two kids. They're 8 and 11. They both have Beatles themed names. So if you want to take some guesses and put that for everyone who's watching this, if you want to put it in the comments, what you think my daughter's names are. They are names from the Beatles world. So I'm just going to put that out there. But I got involved with marketing because, so I had been performing in an off-Broadway comedy show. And oftentimes what would happen would be that company.
You were performing in the off-Broadway show. Okay.
Yes, I was on stage. And so oftentimes that company would get hired because it was a comedy show and it was improvised. So many times companies, other, American Express, Crayola, whoever would hire us to come to their big meetings and share how we're able to come up with so much great stuff off the top of our head, how we're able to tap into our creativity so quickly, all of this, right? And then the benefits that might have for their sales team or their C-suite or whatever it is. So I was at one of these meetings, big meetings, and I was waiting to go on. I was about to go on stage. And from backstage, I heard the keynote speaker before me, who was a big time marketer, and he was talking about this brand new thing called Twitter. So obviously this is like 10, 12 years ago. And he was talking about this new thing called Twitter and how absolutely for free, companies are able to reach out to their, to their customers, to their audience, whatever. And so I looked around at the other people on stage or, backstage with me. And I was like, guys, I think we could get more people to come to our show if we start using this. So I got really involved in learning all about social media marketing. That really excited a passion in me. And social media marketing was so new, but I started taking online classes, and I have 2 small children. So at the time they were babies. And so during nap time and nighttime, I just learned absolutely as much as I could until friends started saying, hey, I've got a new book coming out, or, hey, my show is opening up, or, hey, I've got this tour that's coming. What should I do? I want to support the production. And so I just started getting into it more and more and performing less and less. I really liked how much more control I had over my life as an entrepreneur than as an actor, because so much of that is, even as proactive as you try to be, at the end of the day, you're still waiting to find out whether you got the part. You're still waiting to find out whether you have an audition for the next day or whether you got called back. And I just felt like I wanted a little bit more, agency over my day-to-day life. So then that's how I got involved. And that was about, 10 years ago or so. And I made the transition to marketing full-time when both of my kids were old enough to be in school all day long. So I don't know, wherever you are, what the childcare situation is like in your world, in your country, but here in the United States, it leaves a bit to be desired. So I relied on sending my children to school all day, my 4-year-old and my 7-year-old. So when they were in school, that's how I could work. And then when they were in bed, then I would, do another evening session as well. And that really has gotten me that, that's really how I started. And that's when I formed Downstage Media, was when both kids were in school all day. And so that was about, that was about 4.5 years ago.
Okay, so I'd love to talk about it because many people, I think, afraid of this transition. So they're doing a certain job. I don't know what, let's take this, for example, actress.
Sure.
And in their heart, they think, oh, I might be want to do marketing, but I don't know anything about marketing, and I'm already 30 years old or 35. How can I do this transition now? And you did it. But not only you did it, it sounds like you didn't say like there is no connection between being an actress and between doing marketing. You took your skills and knowledge from acting and combined them with marketing. And it's beautiful. And what advice can you give to somebody who watch this and maybe he or she a certain job and they want to do something else? How can they do this transition?
Well, I mean, I do want to say I am very, very fortunate that during some of the leaner times, I am able to rely on my husband's income as well. So we're able to sort of balance things out that way. My husband is a successful actor and musician. He is often on the road a good majority of the time. He's often performing all around the world. And so that's why I needed to really carve out something in my life that was going to work with our situation. So I do want to say, though, his income certainly has helped buoy me to do what I would want to do. So I'm going to say that first and foremost. But as far as, so, there's definitely part of me that's like, I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in drama, like what do I possibly know about business? But what I decided to do was get very, very strict with myself and with my time. So I really feel like I carve out time in my calendar. I read a book a long time ago called I Know How She Does It. So oftentimes people will be, they'll say to me, oh, I don't know how you do it. And this book is sort of the answer to that, right? It basically talks to a lot of women any women who was interviewed for the book has the oldest child is 6 and makes at least $100,000 a year. So I found that to give a lot of techniques, which then I jumped off of. So for example, things like, when I sign up for, if I sign up for an online class because I want to improve my skills, or when I was trying to learn skills, I just made a point to watch it. I mean, so many times people will buy online classes and they don't actually watch it,
Right,
but like
they don't watch it.
right. So, but I would say, no, I bought this. I'm going to wake up every single day, a half hour earlier. I'm going to watch the videos. I'm going to do the exercises. I'm going to do what it is. Right. I, for a long time, would work 9:30 to 2:30, and then my kids would go to bed around 7:30 or 8 o'clock, and then I'd work 8 to 11. So I had 8 hours that way, but I really had to be diligent and even working from home, like I pretend that, I mean, I have my own office here, but I really try not to like, oh, let me go downstairs and put in a load of laundry, or, oh, let me do this. Or if I get, invited, or I just feel like here, I don't know what it's like where you are in your area of the world, but like moms especially, but parents certainly get asked to like volunteer and do stuff for their kids' schools constantly. And it's really hard to say no to a lot of things like that. But I find that in order to protect my time, I have to do so. So I think, figure out what it is that you need to do and carve out that time to do it and get it done. You can learn anything.
I just want to make sure I understand and everyone understands. So you say, like, let's say I want to become a marketer, find out what you need to do in order to become a good marketer, what you need to learn, what you need to do, and then just find the time. And the other thing you did is you treat your studying time as an appointment. It's
Yes.
not like I'm going to watch 5 minutes and I'm going to go to do laundry. You actually treat this like appointment with customer. You watch, you learn.
Yes, exactly. And I even, so in the United States, we will have 10 weeks of summer vacation. So that means 10 weeks, you've got to figure out what the heck kind of childcare you're going to do with your kids, right? So I set it up though, like I let my children know from this time, I'm going to be working. So, and I let them know ahead of time, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, you have to do this, you have to do that. So, I give them chores that they have to do, or they have to practice their instruments or things like that. And I said, once, so that's the time I'm going to need to work. You're going to be doing your stuff. And then we're going to come together for dinner, or we're going to, whatever it is. And, I really am, and everyone knows it, and I'm consistent with it, and I stick with it, and they're consistent with it, and we're able to make it work that way. So it's really, really protecting that time. So if somebody says like, oh, do you want to, well, somebody today, I just got an email from a friend. It's beautiful out. Do you want to go for a walk at noon? I could, because I make my own schedule, but I don't, because I know what the rest of my day and the rest of my week looks like. So I have to be diligent to say, no, not right now. And that's the most important thing. And then I think also really there's so much that you can learn online. You just have to be diligent about starting it and finishing it. So don't just buy the book, start the book, and finish the book. And if that means
do you got any advice about it? Because again, many people say I'm going to buy the book and I'm going to finish it, but they don't finish it. Right. So do you try to focus one book at a time, or do you have any other method?
I usually do. I usually focus on one book at a time. A lot of times what I will do is I will listen to the audio book, because then I can do that while I'm running errands. I can do that while I'm, doing stuff around the house. I can do that whenever I want in all those times. And then if I feel like the book, so for example, I really like the book Profit First.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
all right. So
Yeah,
by
it's a
Mike
good one.
Michalowicz, please don't ask me to spell his name, but it's called Profit First. And that book was really helpful because, again, I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Drama. They don't teach you how to manage finances for a small business. I
Yeah.
had to figure that out for myself. And so this book helped me do that. So first, I listened to the audiobook to see if this is for me. Is this information for me? Is this going to help me? Is this something I can use? And so once I realized, yes, it is, then I might buy the book to have as a reference. So that way, if I am going to implement whatever system or framework or blah, 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 I have a reference to go on. But that's oftentimes what I will do. If I feel a few chapters in that I'm not getting what I need from this book, or this book is not for me, or this book is not for me right now, it's really for a company that is at a higher level than I currently am at, or it's really for somewhere that has a team of 50 people, which I don't have. I'm a solopreneur, or as I like to say, I'm a one-woman show. So, that kind of a thing, then I have no problem abandoning it and moving on to the next one. That's actually where I really like certain podcasts, because oftentimes they will interview authors. The authors give you a taste of what their book is, and you have a sense of whether or not it's for you.
Yeah.
Then I usually get it on the audio version and then go from there.
Okay. So I'd like to go back again to the marketing thing and actually to use your experience in art and acting, because I think, let's take the movies, for example. So, right, you do branding for the movie. So I don't know, let's say Private Ryan with Tom Hanks. So
Sure.
there was a lot of branding and marketing for the movie. But you had another aspect, which is the branding of Tom Hanks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was branding for the movie and branding for the actor Tom Hanks. And you see this a lot in movie. But for people who sell products, many times they do branding only for the product. And suddenly, while we were talking, I was thinking, should the person who sells the product focus only on branding the product or the company, or should he also focus on branding himself, same as Tom Hanks had to brand himself?
Well, that is a great question. And I think it really kind of depends on the company itself, and it depends on how you want to sort of brand yourself. So remember when we were saying before, if you have maybe a product that you think might be boring and you want to connect it to, and you want to add some excitement into it, you want to up the showmanship, then you might want to then focus on the mission of your company. It is always, not always, but it is oftentimes more helpful in a blog post, for example. If you have, statistically, if you have more images of people in the blog post, if you're going to use a stock image, or in the blog post, if you want to have a picture of the author, you're going to get more clicks on that post than if you don't. Same thing with social media, right? So if you actually have somebody who's behind those stories, who's maybe sort of the face of the brand, that's a very helpful aspect. With your email marketing, if you want to have the email be from someone at your company, right, then that also helps too. This is great for small businesses. Obviously a big company like Coke, that might be weird, but not necessarily, or maybe for a specific campaign or a specific time, for 6 weeks, we're going to be working with this person. We're going to have this person be the face of our brand, the spokesperson, whatever it is. So that you can really kind of decide. I will say, though, that it is helpful for you, just as someone within the company, to create a lot of content. And whether you do it through the company, through a white paper, through the company, or you are just doing it individually, like on your LinkedIn profile, or you have a Medium account or your own personal website, because then that is going to help you while you're working for that company. It will help bring brand awareness to that company. And should you move on from that company, then you already have a foothold of a bit of an audience. So I've seen this I worked with an editor-in-chief of a magazine. She had recently written a book, and so she knew that first of all, she just sort of knew where print magazines were going. This was about 3 years ago. So she had a feeling that, print magazines might be closing down. So it's possible that she might be laid off. And then she also knew that she had this book at the same time. So she wanted to make sure that she upped her personal brand to really kind of hedge her bets a little bit. But in the theater, it's great. I mean, you're going to see this a lot. A very good example of this is Hamilton. So people love the show Hamilton, but not only that, they can oftentimes tell you 1, 2, or 3 names of the people from the original cast of that show. It is unheard of that would happen outside of theater circles, but that has absolutely happened. And it helps to then propel that show. So it helps the company out, because then no matter what Leslie Odom Jr. is doing or Daveed Diggs is doing, people know and associate that with Hamilton. So Hamilton is still running on Broadway. Is still running in the West End. It still has tours going all over the country. So it helps elevate the brand that way. And then it also helps elevate their personal brand. It's kind of like everybody wins in that case. So there's nothing wrong with it, but statistically, it does oftentimes help to have some kind of a face go with the brand.
Okay, so you did talk about content and social media.
Yeah.
And many people are one person show. It doesn't matter if I sell product or I sell services, and I need to manage my business and to sell the product, and I don't have too much free time.
Yeah.
If I need to decide where to brand myself, right, where to publish content, what would you suggest? Or you would suggest to try to do everything, even if I don't have the time to do it very good?
Okay, so a few years ago, I would have told you, just try to be everywhere, right? I was much more of a Gary Vaynerchuk. His wine library store is about 10 minutes from my house. If that, it's like 5 minutes from my house. I've met him a few times. I've talked to him a few times. I've interviewed him a few times. His whole philosophy is to be everywhere. I used to subscribe to this as a one-woman show. It took me about 1.5 to 2 years before I kind of burn out. So I don't recommend that. Here's what I would sort of say as far as the hierarchy is concerned. Focus on building your email list. So that's why I really like the StoryBrand Marketing Made Simple sales funnel, because it does help you to bring in more of an email audience. I mostly focus on messaging for your company, email marketing, and social media marketing. So I look at all aspects of this. So you've always got to start with your messaging. Make sure that's really clear. We talked about this before, what it is that you do for your audience, why they want it, how they can get it, right? That's super important. But then I think that if you have, it's important to create a piece of content that is going to bring people to your email list, but you really want to be focused on your email list. Social media is a way of doing that. So I would say first focus on setting up a couple of automations. So that way, once somebody goes to your website, or if they meet you at an event, or if they run into your product somewhere or other, they're able to go to your website and they're able to get some kind of a something. So that way they're getting something from you and you're getting them on your email list. That's super important. And so then when you have people on your email list, even if that number is low, it's important to send out emails regularly to those people. So I think it's important to still maintain those relationships. So if you have the option, do I write an email that's going to go out to my email list, or do I write a social media post that's going to go out? I would say do the first option, do the email list, because those are people who've already raised their hand and said, I'm interested in the thing that you're doing. So focus on that. I am a huge proponent of automations. And with my clients, I talk to them about how you can automate your email newsletter, we actually talked about this in our like pre-interview, right? So if you have a podcast, if you have a YouTube channel, if you have a blog, there are ways that you can make it so that way when you push publish on that piece of content, it automatically goes out to your email list. So I think that kind of automation is very important so that way you're serving the people who've raised their hand and said, I'm interested in you and the stuff that you do and what you create and what you put out. You're serving those people, but it's not taking you any additional time. I'm also a huge fan of automating your social media posts. So not just scheduling them, but actually creating a whole bunch of social media posts and having them go out automatically on certain channels at certain times, you know, within certain categories. So as a one-woman show, that's the kind of stuff that I do. So that way I'm able to, you know, me, my personal brand, Annie Schiffman, or Downstage Media, my company, is able to put out a lot of content, but I don't necessarily put a lot of time into it day to day.
Right. So you're saying I'm automating my email and my social media posts. So it does look like I post a lot, but actually I don't do it right now. I mean, so let's talk about this email thing for a moment, because I preach all the time about how important it is to send emails. And many people say email marketing is dead, no one opens the emails, it goes to the spam. So I'd love to hear your opinion about it.
Yes, it is weird that we're talking about an effective marketing tool when you consider that only 20% of emails actually get opened. That is weird, for sure. But here's the thing. I mean, I'm old enough to have seen, Friendster and MySpace working on different deals, but I have seen Vine come and go. I have seen Periscope come and go. I have seen a number of different social media platforms. TikTok a year ago this time was threatened that it might be taken off the App Store, wasn't going to update anymore, blah, 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 right? So I've seen it happen, and I have been put in Twitter jail for a week. I was working on a nonprofit where we were raising money for artists who had lost their job because of the pandemic. Broadway was shut down. All these people had to move out of the city. So this was a nonprofit that we started to bring them back into town. So I got kicked off of Twitter the week that we launched. We had all of this press, all of this stuff happen. I didn't get, like, our account got kicked off of Twitter. And I got an email from Twitter like a week later. They're like, oh, we're so sorry, we made a mistake. Hope it wasn't inconvenient for you. It's like, no, that was incredibly inconvenient, right? So my point is with this is that algorithms come and go, social media platforms come and go, you know, whatever your political point of view is, you could very easily get kicked off of a platform without any notice, because you may have violated their terms of service, or you may not have violated their terms of service, and they just don't like what you're putting out. All of this stuff is possible, and you don't have access to all of those accounts where people have raised their hand and said, I'm interested in you. With email marketing, you do. You're actually algorithm proof.
Because
So
you actually own the channel, right? It's not like Facebook, which you are a guest or a customer. Or
Exactly. So now, granted, you are a guest if you're using Constant Contact or you're using MailChimp, right? They can absolutely kick you off their platform. But the fact of the matter is, you're going to have a CSV file that's going to have all the names, addresses, and any other fields that any other audience fields that you have for that list that you can take with you anywhere. You can take it with you to Constant Contact. Now, that said, I do think it's worth looking at, if you do a lot of email marketing and you do feel like your open rates are not where you want them to be, or that things are going into spam, there are absolutely ways that you can work around that. There's different, sort of check marks that you can do and different things like that, which can get better open rates or get better deliverability. I'll give you a couple of examples. So one is make sure that I just saw this the other day. I got an email from someone. It was definitely an email they had done through MailChimp because it had the little reference thing at the bottom or referral thing at the bottom. But the email address that it was from was, this person's brand at gmail.com.
Oh, yeah.
So when you do that, automatically your deliverability goes way, way down. Also, there are certain things in place that
One moment, can you just explain this again? So because it was brand name at gmail.com.
Right. So
what could they do differently?
I'm sorry?
So what would you suggest to do differently?
So instead of, say, for example, instead of having Annie Downstage at gmail.com, instead use the domain name. You probably bought the domain name for your website anyway. So make it at Annie, or I'm sorry, make it Annie at downstage.media. And then the email is going to go, it is much higher deliverability rate. So just things like that. And I know a lot of people, they don't, just consider it the cost of doing business. If you're going to do a business, if you're going to expect money from people, there's got to be some upfront costs, buying the domain name, upgrading your email marketing. So that way you're able to use that, like whatever it is, this is the kind of stuff that you need to think about. It's just the cost of doing business in the 21st century. So that's really important. So that helps with deliverability rates. Another thing, as far as open rates are concerned, is keep in mind that you can test some stuff out. So for example, will more people open the email if the email comes from Annie Schiffman or if the email comes from Downstage Media? You can send out a couple of emails and you can either just take a look at your open rates one way or the other. You could even, certain email platforms will allow you to A/B test that way. But take a look at it, because what you can do then is email after email after email, you're able to sharpen your sword. So also another thing is that apparently when you use personalization, right? So in the subject line, if you use a first name, if you use an emoji, those are oftentimes more likely to be opened than not. So test that out with your audience. Test first the personalization, then try out the emoji, see how that works. Is that upping it a little bit more? Is that taking your open rates from 20% to 22 to 25? Another thing that a lot of people do is they, I just find that a lot with email marketing, that a lot of the words that are used are very violent, right? So there's like the idea of sending out an email blast, and there's like capturing email addresses, like all these things. And it's like, okay, let's take this back a little bit. So email, a lot of times when people say, I'm going to send out an email blast, it means it's going to go out to their entire audience. Well, when you do that, yes, statistically, you're most likely going to get a 20% open rate. But when you really think to yourself, who are the people on my email list who really need to get this email, who are actually going to benefit? And you start to refine who that email goes to, that's when you start seeing significant changes in your open rates. That's when you start going from 20% open rates to 40% to 50% open rates. So it's just stuff like that. There's little tweaks that you can make along the lines. And keep in mind, so how often do you recommend that people, like how often do you recommend that people send out emails, like for what you said in your podcast?
I'm trying like once a week. I'm saying once a week, but personally I send more than this.
Yeah. Sure.
I love emails.
Yeah, same. But you recommend that people send out about one email a week, right?
Yeah.
So you figure if you're sending out one email a week, and then once a week you take a look at how that email did, then you could say, okay, yeah, we didn't have a lot of open rate, we didn't have a lot of people open it. What can we adjust next? How can we change it? Well, let's have it come from this name instead of that name. Let's put the emoji in there. Let's do that in there. Let's try to make the subject line a little bit stronger or a little bit more I don't know, like sort of a little bit more intriguing. So that way someone might be more likely to open the email, right? Like just little things like that that you can do to help refine and improve those numbers.
So, Annie, before we finish, I'd love to ask you to give free advice. It can be about marketing, email, branding, whatever you decide, but any advice that can help to any entrepreneur who watch this. And yeah.
Okay. So any I like to think that I've given you a whole bunch of advice already. So
yeah, definitely.
I do want to say,
but this should be like, the diamond of advice, right?
Sure.
Like,
okay. So the diamond in the rough. I mean, I think if there is one thing as an entrepreneur, I would say is to build your audience on 2 different social media platforms plus email. That is what I will die on that hill. 2 different social media platforms that are not owned by the same company. So for example, Meta owns Instagram and Facebook. I do not recommend building on those 2 platforms at the same time. And then for all the reasons that we talked about before, I recommend also building an email list. As a solopreneur, this is a manageable amount of content to put out. This is manageable. This is doable. It's not easy, but it's doable. If you add more, if you start thinking like, oh, maybe I'll add TikTok into the mix, or, maybe I'll start a podcast or blah, blah, blah. You can, but you need to always like your benchmarks, because when you focus on 2 social media platforms, that means that you're able to bring in new people to your audience. And then email helps you to nurture the people that you have. So, and, we talked about why email is so important. And I think that, the 2 social media platforms not owned by the same company are really important as well. So that's what I would say is the most important. But if you go to downstage.media, I blog weekly. I give marketing insights. You're oftentimes going to see that they have the filter of the performing arts on them, right? But the information is still worthwhile, no matter if you are, selling a show or if you are selling a product. It
right.
Absolutely, the techniques are the same. So go to downstage.media/blog and you'll be able to see a lot of this stuff that we talk about, plus some different automation ideas that I have and social media recommendations and just other ways to make the most of your marketing efforts.
Perfect. Annie, thank you so much. It was fascinating. And I was glad to hear someone else saying that emails are important. There are many people who say this, but also many people who say it's rubbish, and I don't like it. Actually, one thing I have to say, you said that in your blog, many has the filter of art and performing art and not about product. But if there's one thing I took from this, I took many things, but one thing is all of us who sell products and services, we might need to start looking from the eye of a producer. And like, how do I brand also the actress, and how do I fill the ticket, and how do I give the experience, not just selling the ticket, and how do I make the people and the person who bought a ticket to tell to his friends later how good was the show. So it was really fascinating.
And, and not only that, just a quick thing, because we didn't talk about this at all, but yes, I love what you're saying because word of mouth, of course, is so important in the theater. And so, and you've had shows that are in tiny little theaters that move to Broadway only because of word of mouth, right? There's so much buzz with them. But now what theaters are really doing is making it very easy for audience members to share their feelings on social media, or just really make it easy to refer, to share the show with their friends. And that's something else for you to think about with the product. So is there a way that you can slip something into the box where when people are receiving their products, that they're able to then share it, but like not just like take a picture of this and use this hashtag? Like what would be something that would make someone really say like, yes, this is a great experience. This is something that I want to share with my friends, and make that exciting and fun for them. And this might require you, if you find that that's not the strengths and skills that your immediate team has, that's where you can bring in some creative people who know how to generate wild, crazy ideas like this, that you'll be able to rein in and make scalable for your company. But it's absolutely something to think about, is how can you help to share, or how can you make it easy for the people who experience your products to share it with the people they love?
Perfect. Word of mouth is really important, and people forget about it, especially in the online business, by the way, in the
Yes.
selling products through online, because sometimes the online make you feel it's very like computer thing, and actually it's still about people.
Yeah, it's still about people. Yeah, absolutely.
So for anyone who wants to get an advice or a coaching call from any, or use your service, what is the best way to reach you?
So the best place to reach me is go to downstage.media. So it's downstage.media. And we had said before how important it is to start with the messaging and then go into the email marketing and social media marketing as far as sort of your plan of things. And so on downstage.media, there is a quiz where you'll be able to get a score for how strong your messaging is. So if you want to just have a sense of that, to see where you're at and where your company is at, go to downstage.media. You'll see it right there on the homepage, how you can take that quiz to find out how strong the messaging is for your company.
Right. So if you watch this right now, you can find here where I point the address for the website, and
boom, right there.
Boom. Yeah, we can post in two places. Yeah, and go visit Annie and contact her because she's really great. Annie, thank you so much.
You're really great. I really
Thank
appreciate
you
you taking the time today.
It was great. It was fascinating, really. And again, I'm just thinking, how do I look at myself as a producer? This is like my number one takeaway from here.
Love it. Well, thank you so much.